Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Scottish Property Podcast. My name is Stephen Clark and I'm joined as always with my co-host Nick Ponte. How you doing, Nick?
I'm all right, mate. I've been doing a bit of property maintenance at my own house the last week, scrubbing the decking and putting a new decking oil on. What are you up to?
You'll outsource that soon, mate.
I was thinking that when it took me 2 days to do it, I was like, this is not good use of my time. You know how you keep hearing these coaches and gurus saying, outsource and pay somebody else for the non-income generating tasks? That was just going through my head the full time.
We'll get there, mate. Today we've got a couple of great guests lined up today, which I think people will find really refreshing because these guys have only started out in property, 6-7 months ago. They've already picked up their first deal, which is an assisted sale. So we brought them on to discuss, how they started off, what was their motivations, and obviously go into details on how they've made £47,000 profit from an assisted sale, a property they don't even own. They've managed to renovate it, sell on open market, get an inflated home report, take advantage of this crazy market where things are actually, it's a seller's market, and they've made £47,000 on their first deal, which is a phenomenal deal.
Amazing. And one of the big things that I took away from it was that they are providing solutions. So we hear about, motivated sellers, and quite often, there is a kind of, there's a bit of an moral argument that some people say, well, you're taking advantage of these people who are in desperate circumstances. And, there are people that will. But the great thing about these guys and this particular deal was the sellers actually got more than the property was initially valued at. So I think it was like 80k for the home report. It was on with an agent. Sale had fallen through a couple of times. They came in, actually offered more than the home report, and everybody came out a winner. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. I was delighted to hear that they'd kept in touch, obviously, with the sellers throughout the process. And that was key to the deal as well, the relationship. And the sellers, who didn't even live up in Scotland, they live in England, they were absolutely delighted with the end result. So, and somebody gets an amazing home out of it as well.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there about providing that solution to the seller who needed a little bit more for their property. And it reminds me, one of the first assisted sales I did about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a landlord friend of mine who was selling a property, and on the open market, he probably would have got about 62 grand for it at the time. And he had a mortgage outstanding of 65. So he would have been paying a few grand down. And I said, look, if you do this assisted sale type deal, I'll give you 70 grand for it. So he was over the moon. He was actually getting more, paying off his mortgage and getting some money in his hand as well. And that worked out for both parties. So these guys have done exactly the same, but they've done it in a completely buoyant market. They've done really, really well at it. So
it's quite an advanced strategy, I would definitely say. I mean, but these guys, it was funny that they did this this was their first deal. So I would say, if you're kind of new to property, just obviously speak to people who have done it before, and obviously speak to your solicitor. And that's the other problem, because some solicitors will kind of veer you away from it, won't they? And not all solicitors will be comfortable and not really know what they're doing. So it's trying to get the right advice from the right people as well.
Absolutely. Between the solicitors, the sellers, and the estate agents, you need to have them all on board to kind of believe and understand it. And it's kind of taking the time to explain it and building these relationships up. And I think that's what makes a strategy a success.
Exactly. So we'll just cut to the interview with Jon and David.
Hi, Jon and David from Strathclyde Property Investors. Thanks very much for joining us on the Scottish Property Podcast.
Thanks, happy to be here. Delighted to be on.
Cheers, guys. So can you give us a wee bit of background on yourselves for the listeners, when you got started in property and what kind of motivated you to get started in property? Because both of you have got an interesting story.
Yep. I'll start first then. So originally I'm an electrician to trade. Started that apprenticeship when I was 16. And me and David always kind of spoke over the years that we wanted to get into property, but we never really took that leap. It wasn't until a conversation we had only 6 months ago between me and David had educated himself a bit more. And we just kind of made the jump, decided to both use our own money. I had a bit of money from my own house sale. David had a bit of money from offshore. We just decided there and then, after probably about 5-minute conversation, but we'd obviously spoke about it over the years, to just go for it. And it's worked out well so far, but I think we've been a bit lucky, but I think you need luck in this game.
No, definitely. I mean, as Jon says, the conversation was quite minimal. We both just kind of knew that was something we wanted to do in time. With me, that's how I've resonated with you so much, Stephen, is with your sort of story and how you just thought, I've got a daughter now. This offshore game is just no for me, and that was the exact same for me at the start of lockdown. 2020. It was the wee man was born, and I just thought, am I really going to be able to do this long term? John was one of the guys actually that said to me, he says, you'll never be able to go offshore as much as you do. I was like, it'll be fine. And sure enough, he was born, and I was like, I think he's right, by the way. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this long term. Then the lockdown happened, and I spent 3 months with him. And during the lockdown, I just thought, you know something, I'm going to try and go back offshore long term. Started using all the free education online, listening to yous. I've listened to, I think, your podcast 3 times over on some of them. Other stuff, YouTube and books and all that, and then decided just to pay for some education in October. And I never went back offshore since then. So it just happened pretty quick. You know, I didn't intend not to go back offshore. It's just how it all sort of materialised.
Superb, mate. So the point of the podcast was to try and get the listeners a bit education and feedback on you guys. But your first deal has been a huge success, isn't it? It was an assisted sale. Yep. Could you talk us through, or you know, give us a brief description on what an assisted sale is for those that don't know?
Aye, so basically the assisted sale it's a brilliant strategy. You're not actually buying the property. You're just basically assisting the seller to get it sold for, you know, a price higher than what he could probably sell it for at that time. So the idea around it is, you know, you agree a price with the seller. You get a contract written up that allows you to go in and refurb the property. You carry, solicitor does all that. You carry out the refurb, and you know, once it goes back in the market, once it sells, the seller gets the price that you've agreed, and you get anything above that.
Brilliant. And was this the strategy you were both intending on kind of going down to try and find assisted sale purchases, or was it?
Not at all. We were kind of forced into it. We were put a lot of problems kind of came our way in terms of we couldn't get a mortgage on the property. So we found out at first, we agreed with the lender that if we go in and install a bathroom suite, we would get a mortgage on the property. So first of all, we had to agree that with the seller. So it took a bit of convincing, but we got there in the end. We put the bathroom suite in at our cost. We got the lender back out, and the lender says the house still isn't inhabitable, so you still can't get a mortgage.
Just because of the condition?
Just because of condition. There was no kitchen installed. Probably a bit of naivety from us, being new to property and not knowing the lender wouldn't give us a mortgage. So we then agreed, I spoke to the seller, told them, listen, there is a problem, but we've got a solution to get around it. It was basically just doing the bathroom, but on a bigger scale, getting them to agree that we could take on this property and refurb the lot, similar to what we've done with your bathroom, and we'll definitely get a mortgage. After a bit of convincing, he accepted that. We got the contract written up, and then kind of the rest is history. It'll be hard to find a deal like that again, I think.
So the deed of trust contract that you got written up, can you explain a bit more about that?
Aye, the deed of trust was purely for the bathroom suite. So that was something that I sort of took off the first education course before you, Stephen. It was like, just get that written up, get them to sign it, you know, be happy with it and stuff like that. And we went down that route for the bathroom suite, which was fine. But see, once we really started to pursue the assisted sale and with the full refurb, we thought, you know, let's get a solicitor involved, just because it was such a grand scale. There was a lot of money. Obviously, we were going to be putting into the property. We just didn't want it just to be a bit of paper that we had just written up. We wanted to, you know, go through solicitors and get the right security done and stuff like that. And
the risk of not doing that would have been you guys exposed. I mean, the refurb, like a big refurb. How much was the refurb in total?
Right, I think it was about 24,300, round about that.
Aye, so it's a fair bit of refurb for you to tie up the money without having it legally tied, that they couldn't just...
Exactly. I mean, it was all right doing it for a bathroom suite that cost £1,500 or whatever it was, you know, but to do it in a scale like that and for it to come down to a bit of paper that we've just written up, you know, it didn't really sit well with us, and it slowed things down a little bit again on the lead up to Christmas and that. We were desperate to get it through, but no, it was definitely the right thing to do for this one.
And what was the process with the seller situation? Did they move out the house while you carried out the full renovation, or did they remain in the property?
So they've not lived in the property. Nobody's lived in the property since 2007 anyway. The only reason we sort of know that is because there's a calendar up in the kitchen for 2007. The two sellers, one lives down south, one lives the other side of Scotland somewhere. You know, they just what actually happened with it was the sister, it's the brother and sister that own it. So the sister took it over from the mum and dad with her husband to be. They started renovating the place. Not really renovating. They done, I think, a bit of plaster downstairs, and then they split up. So that was that. That just lay there for all the years until obviously we get into it. But just jumping back a bit, it was just touched on what Jon said. It was a bit of luck because once it went on the market in July 2020. There was 16 offers in closing date. We weren't one of them. We didn't know anything about it. We weren't looking then. And after 3 months, it fell through. So sellers frustrated, agents frustrated. We seen it online. Didn't view it. We just sort of we had went for a few before, missed out. We were just sort of like we were just so eager, so keen to get involved in a project. And this was ticking all the boxes. You know, a lot of people say like, "Oh, just start small for your first one and that," but we weren't interested in that. We wanted the full boona, you know, for the first one. So it was ticking all the boxes. It was round the corner from both of us, literally. You know, no more than a 10-minute drive for both of us. And we just thought, you know, something, this could be the right. I was on the phone to him at the time and I seen it online. I thought, I can't be right. 3 months that's been on the market. Nah, I can't be right. And we inquired about it on the Friday. We put an offer in on the Saturday, but the agent says there's a bunch of viewings again on the Saturday, so wait till they're done. So the offer's just sort of stood there until the Monday, until it got accepted on the Monday. So we were delighted.
What was the home report value for it? Can you talk us through a bit of the numbers?
Aye. So the home report value is 80. We put an offer in at 85. So that get accepted eventually on the Monday. Then once we all the stuff with the bathroom suite, we actually reduced our offer to 83.5 because we thought if we were going to put a bathroom suite in at our cost, we want more off the cost. Even although, you know, we would have to put one in anyway, sort of thing. But we just thought, you know, it's more money out of our pocket just now. We'll try and see if we can get a bit off.
Yeah.
They accepted. So it was 83.5 was the sort of purchase cost at the time that we were looking at.
And what would have been the end value with that kind of 25 grand renovation then?
So we were looking at 125, one stretch 130. I think it would have gave us 15 it was about 15 profit.
Yeah.
Can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it was still good. You know, it was still sort of meeting the criteria that we had.
But you were paying EDS, you were buying it, you were getting lending against it, you were having holding costs against it for 6 months as well.
I mean, the assisted sale thing didn't really come to light. I spoke to one of my mates in property, and he was kind of saying about. He said to me about an assisted sale, but we wanted to see if we could just start the portfolio right away with that one. We were kind of in two minds, you know. We wanted to build a pot with flipping, but we also had an open mind where this could be a brilliant rental, you know, if we could get £900 or £1,000 a month or something.
So wait a minute here. I'm just trying to get this process in my head because assisted sale, it's never something I've done in the past, Stephen. I know you've done a little bit. Jon, do you want to just explain? You got this offer accepted through the estate agent, right?
Yeah.
How did it become then a conversation between yourself and the seller to do this assisted sale structure?
So it was all around getting the mortgage. The seller was so keen to sell the property, and he had a motivation there because he had it sold in the summer and it fell through. So
because it kept falling through because of the mortgage situation, because nobody could get the lending on it.
I believe so. We don't know that it's factual, but that's what we're surmising.
Right.
Yeah. So on that, it kind of started. Listen, we were unaware of why it fell through, just new to property, maybe a bit naive, but when we found out off the lender that we couldn't get a mortgage and we were told about the bathroom suite, we then installed that. We still couldn't get a mortgage off the lender, and it just progressed into convincing a lender that we can do the full renovation as we done the bathroom suite, and we can agree a price. You'll be guaranteed your money. You might need to wait a bit longer, which was hard for them to accept because you'd have a 3-month renovation. plus the conveyancing after that, once the offer was accepted. So once we did convince him, he was all for it. And I think it's all about relationships. We built a great relationship with the seller. Yeah. He really trusts us. We spoke to him on the phone, sent him update pictures week by week. So I think that was a big key factor in him agreeing and kind of trusting us with his house.
Did you ever meet them face to face, or was it all kind of done over the phone?
We've never met them face to face. I don't know if that's maybe because of COVID. It's all been done over the phone, which is quite unbelievable when you think about it. Just like
could maybe touch on there as well, John, is the brother actually he had lent his sister some money throughout this process, the sister splitting up and stuff. So they actually needed as much as they could get. We don't know.
You've dropped out.
The figure that they needed, but people that put offers, cash offers, and like that.
Sorry, you dropped out there, David. Can you just go back? You were saying about the brother.
Aye, so the brother was actually owed some money from the sister, so they actually needed as much as they could get for the house. I don't know the figure they needed, but I know there was cash offers going in around about 60 grand from somebody that I know who offered. So they needed as much as they could get from the house, which is where the assisted sale again is great, because you can offer that bit more than people just coming in with a low cash offer that maybe doesn't suit the seller.
Okay, so like from what I'm seeing here, this kind of works for everybody, right? This looked like a win-win for everybody, because they actually got over and above what the property was valued to start with, right?
Yep.
And obviously you guys are taking the risk here in terms of like putting your own. So did you put your own money into doing this refurb then, and you paid for all that?
Yep.
Yeah. So that was obviously your part of the risk, and then just explain to us about how the whole refurb went. How long did it take again, and what was the end sale price? Because you've done a couple of videos on the Facebook page, on the Scottish Property Facebook page. So if anybody wants to check out, they can go and see that.
So the refurb timescale was around 11 weeks. The original programme was 12 weeks, but I was just determined to beat that, and we beat it with a week, which was quite pleasing, but I wanted to beat it with more. So our end home report value was 145, which helped us a lot. We were celebrating once we heard that home report. Come in.
125 was it?
145.
But you were aiming for 125 originally.
Yeah.
So a hot market's pushed you 20 grand over in the home report.
Yep. Plus then, but we sold the property for 157, which for that area, I know the area well, being from round about there, and I thought the maximum ceiling price was 150, and you need to be very, very lucky to get 150. But the fact that we sold it for 157, went to a closing date, plenty of offers, was unbelievable, and it just shows you the market just now.
So for those Glasgow listeners who are listening to this, we're talking about North Glasgow here, aren't we? Barmulloch?
Yeah, Balornock, 193 Wallace-Well Road, which is a main road in that area. So with it being a main road as well, I didn't expect it to get that sort of price for it.
You would think like a 3-bed, is that a 3-bed semi, yeah?
3-bed semi, yeah.
I mean, just off the top of my head, I know that area well. I've own a flat just round the corner from there. I'm thinking maybe 130 off the top of my head. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's unbelievable. I think the standard of the refurb really helped with that. I mean, as we were getting to the end, you could see it just looking better and better. And then when we get the staging done, I felt like that made a massive help. And previously, I didn't know what staging was about 2 months ago. It was David that brought it to me, and I thought, surely this isn't a thing. And even the night before the Friday night, I was walking around the property, and the staging was happening on a Saturday, and I thought, this property looks good. I think we've made a mistake paying for the staging, and I phoned Dave and I told him. And then I actually said the same to the stager on the Saturday morning. I said, listen, I know the fee's paid, I know it's happening now, but I don't think the property needs it. And his words to me were, believe me, come back at 5 o'clock tonight and you'll change your mind. And he was bang on. Seeing I walked back into the property and seen the furniture laid out, what you could do with the spaces. I thought it was probably the best purchase in the full refurbishment was the staging costs.
That's
Money well spent.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely. I think a lot of people say about the staging, it costs a lot. Like, when I said to the missus, she was like, oh my God, what would you pay that for? That's for staging.
How much was the staging?
1,400, which I don't even think is the sort of dearest that people pay out there. Certainly not the cheapest either for staging, but the company was highly recommended, you know, so just thought, let's go for it.
I mean, who knows how much that's added on, but I mean, arguably it could have added an extra 5k or something like that. So you got your money back plus extra. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's brilliant. Like, see, just to be things in a flip that you maybe, you know, like, if you leave, we left the old cupboard doors on every room, and it just takes it's wee things like that. They weren't in bad condition. They get a good paint job, and it just takes your eye off looking at that instead of looking at maybe cupboard doors that have been there for a while. You're looking at everything round about it. It just totally takes the focus off maybe the wee.
Yeah, because there's an empty room with a nice freshly plastered with a nice flooring and carpet. You can start looking at the.
Exactly, aye.
No, absolutely. Aye.
So see, in terms of the so it went to a closing date, right? So it was 145 home report. How did the viewings go and all that? Was there a lot of interest?
Aye, there was plenty of interest. At the start, I was freaking out a bit because I had just sold my house, and I after 24 hours it'd been online, it was like 10 viewings booked. And this one, after 24 hours, there was only a few, and I was phoning John like, what's going on here? Just totally jumping the gun. But no, I think there was close to 30 viewings.
Over 30 viewings there was within a 3-4 day period over that weekend. So there was plenty of interest.
Few cheeky offers as well, though. Like, somebody offered 140. I just think, do you even know what the market is now?
Clearly not.
Yeah. Date a week after it was listed, then.
But it was a week, aye. Yep.
A week exactly, yeah.
Superb. And then was the 157 the highest offer, or were they in the better position just to move?
The guy with the 157 actually, he was a top offer all the way through. So he came in with 155. Is that right, John?
I went 155 quite early on, and probably ourselves maybe being a bit greedy. There was no offer that was above that, but there was a couple grand below that. But they kept coming, but none could beat the 155. But
when's it due to complete, guys? When's it due to complete, or is it completed already?
Oh, so it's, I think we're looking at 4 or 5 weeks now.
Right.
So we're going to speak to the agent today. Obviously, we've been off for the Easter break, so get an update on that today.
Well,
can you run through the top level numbers then? So what was the final kind of agreed purchase price for the assisted sale?
So that was 83.5 is what we agreed.
So that obviously there was no ADS, no buying cost, no arrangement, no mortgage, and then you paid a solicitor's fee for the deed of trust and then a 25 grand refund.
Yep. So based on, and then no 6 months as well, which is even better. Your money's in and out quicker. So 83.5. We were about 24,300 in the refurb, £800 I think we are for the contract, 1,000 for the remarketing, and 360 for the home report. That was a total of just under 110,000. We sold it for 157, which is 47 profit.
47 grand profit from your first deal, guys. It's brilliant.
First deal. That's got to be like, honestly.
When your nose is up, it flips now for 15 grand now, you'll be like, no.
That's what I'm saying to you, Stephen, the other day. I was like, I just, you don't want to do the flips now. It's just like, I just want assisted sales. But obviously, it's not going to work like that all the time.
One big question that comes into my head, right, is the sellers, right? So are they aware of, you know, obviously they've seen it on the market at the end, they saw the end product. What was their reaction? Have you told them how much you got for it?
What's crazy about this, Nick, is the seller on the estate agents that we were tied into using, the seller can speak to the buyers making the offer because it's not our house. So they're the ones,
that's right.
They're receiving the offers, and then we're telling the seller to reject them. And he's obviously thinking he wants his money as quick as possible. We're trying to push for a closing date, and we're telling him that 155 came in, and we're saying, "No, we'll reject that, or we'll try and go to a closing." So for us it was a bit cheeky, but because we had such a good relationship with the seller, that means that allowed us to do that.
And they're in England as well. They're based in England, so they wouldn't really understand maybe what a closing date is and stuff like that. So they're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, exactly. So it was a bit, there was times where before we agreed to go to a closing date, me and David spoke about, do we just cash in? We've got a 155 offer, do we cash in? And we'd change our mind like every hour. Nah, let's go closing date. Nah, let's cash in. And both of us would kind of flip-flop. But eventually we did go to closing and we got an extra 2k because of that. So it was all good.
I think what you're saying there about the relationship as well that we had, John, is spot on, because the phone call that I received from the seller was like, that's amazing, you've got 145 home report. And he actually thanked me for coming up with, he thanked us, should I say, for coming up with a solution that was allowing him to get, what he wanted for the property and more, probably, as it was over a home report that he's actually ultimately getting. So that was a great conversation. He's actually thanking us.
That's good.
$7,000.
I mean, if it was me, I'd be like, ah, bastards, man. I'd be like, give me my property back.
I would be the same, and it does cross your mind that the seller's maybe thinking that at some point. Is he thinking he wants more money out of this? Obviously, he's tied to a contract, but it could have maybe got messy if he wanted to try and challenge it. You don't know, but I think the relationship again is key. The fact that we had a good relationship, that was never kind of brought into question.
And at the end of the day, you guys,
what a seller is like, people underestimate how can when a seller's in a difficult position and you come up with this solution to either buy it at a reasonable price or more, and you can come through it. People underestimate it. They always tend to think that, we're doing our model or just this thing by taking the property cheaper. But like you guys have just stated as well, like you've done them a huge service, and they thank you, and you've made it.
Well, what I like about this is you guys have actually paid over the market value for it. So it's not like you've ripped anybody off here. Plus, you've put your own money into it. So, nobody can really, nobody can argue the morals of it or the ethics of it, because I think it's fair for everybody, to be honest with you.
Definitely, yep.
No, I agree.
So what's next, guys?
Well, we've got another assisted sale, believe it or not. We're just waiting on the contract getting signed, but David's been in contact with the seller, and we're confident of getting it signed this week, David.
I think it's definitely a go. We had to jump through a few hoops with this one. Again, it's got a bit messy between the husband and the wife, who are now exes. The husband sort of saying that he's going to go to lawyers if the wife doesn't sell the house. They've been split up for 2 years. He sort of gave her time, and then lockdown happened, so he says, right, okay, I'll leave it to now. Now lockdown's sort of easing. He's at her to say, get this house sold, I want my money. And so it's all got a bit messy. So this was, again, going back to relationships, this was because of a property that I went to see to try and, help the seller in selling the house. Nothing materialised, didn't come of anything. But we left in good terms, good luck, and that was it. Didn't hear anything from her again. And then I got a phone call one day just saying, I've been recommended to you by this particular woman. If you can help me sell my house. And sure enough, on word of mouth, on the recommendation, we've almost got this assisted sale basically over the line. So,
what do you think the kind of typical scenarios are of finding these kind of assisted sale deals? Because obviously they're quite specialised, and you would think to yourself, in this market, anything that's needing a good refurb or that, and it goes on the open market, generally sells pretty straightforward. So, where do you think you guys can kind of jump in? And now that you've done one, obviously you've got some kind of expertise in it. What sort of scenarios are you looking for?
What I've found, Nick, is even when you're driving around, I was driving around Glasgow the other day, and I've seen a house that's been lying windows boarded up. It's a detached house, looks a bit 4-bedroom, and it's been like that for years. And I think it's houses like that you target and go, why is that not sold? Why is it not got something in it? There must be a reason. So it's just finding that house and then trying to inquire about it and try and find out why. So there's always a reason why a house is lying empty.
Have you get any kind of tips for listeners of how have you been going about trying to track down owners and stuff like that? Is it speaking to neighbours, or land registry, stuff like that?
So that's David's department.
It's mostly land registry, and I mean that's how you go on. You send a direct to vendor letter. Hope you get a bit of luck with that. We get a wee phone call back or whatnot. Chatting doors, we've not really done that yet. But it's just a lot of them though. I'm finding like the ones that Jon's speaking about there. They're not even on land registry. So it's trying to track that as well, going to the SASIN register, using that, a bit more money to get details from that. And then I've spoke to my solicitor about one that we looked at in Bishopbriggs. It's all boarded up. You know, it would be an absolute cracking project. And everyone goes on about the housing shortage and how many of these houses are actually boarded up. There must be some way to get access to them.
A lot of councils have got empty homes officers now as well that unfortunately you can utilise to your advantage. I
went to the council about this one I'm talking about, and they says no, that's not one of ours. And I'm like, whose is it then? So I spoke to a solicitor. They says get a private investigator. So that's another avenue that you could go down, I suppose. But it's a lot of cost without knowing if you're going to get it.
Would you say, is there any kind of like sort of downfalls? Like where could you see it potentially going wrong at an assisted sale? Have you kind of looked into the kind of risks and stuff like that, or?
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously there's always a risk with everything, but I get that as much as possible with the likes of this one. But because the seller was tied to Purple Brick solicitor, we got our solicitor to put a security in as well as get a proper contract written up. Right. Whereas this assisted sale that we're looking at in Greenock, we probably won't need to do the security thing and all that because we're going to use our solicitor for the seller. We know our solicitor is going to act on behalf of both of us, with the best intentions for both of us. We know we're going to get our money. So it's all about, it's just sort of weighing up the risk in the process and how you can try and best mitigate it. And that's what we thought, getting a solicitor to put the security on it. So it's, I guess there's always a little bit of risk, but
it's risk reward because I think all the fees you don't need to pay. The deposit, so you're taking that risk for that bigger reward, and I think you just need to weigh it up. If it doesn't feel right and you get questions about it, don't do it. But as you say, you just get securities written up if you feel confident with that and try and secure it that way.
So what's the plan for you guys going forward? Is it more assisted sales to build up to build a portfolio, or where are you heading with on your property journey?
And the kind of plan was to do 3 flips within 6 months. That was the agreed plan, to build up a pot and then go into build a portfolio. Obviously, the assisted sale was, in my opinion, the best way to go down in terms of not paying fees. But it's still flipping to build the pot and then using that. We're also looking to get investors on board as well to kind of fund that and make the process go quicker.
Right, no.
Do you think
47 grand on one deal's the start, mate? I'm sure the pot will grow quite quickly.
Stephen,
hopefully.
Stephen, you did an assisted sale, did you?
Yeah. I've done a few, but it was interesting because I wanted to make sure the exits were guaranteed because I thought, imagine having the risk of, obviously we're not in the market we're in right now where it's hot and everything's fucking selling, everyone can be confident. I wanted to make sure that I lined it up where I can invest at the back end to buy the 2 or 3 bed kind of ex-local authority house at the back end, having renovated it, knowing that there was a sale guaranteed and I'd be in control of it rather than the market dictating. But obviously the market's dictated in such a more positive way that you're getting over anticipated home report and over that inflated home report. So it's a really good strategy there now.
So what I'm saying is, why are not more people doing it? I mean, obviously they must be quite difficult to come by, and is it because that you've got to find a property literally where somebody's no living in it, isn't it? The property's got to be empty if you're going to add that maximum value and do the full refurb, right?
I think I know what you're saying, Nick. So it's not just like you can walk into a property, especially on the market. Agents just, what agents are acting like now. It's just like they don't want to know you unless you're interested in putting over 10 grand over home report. So I think it's really just about finding it for me with the seller, what they're wanting, and it's not always about just going and going like assisted sale, because they don't know what that is. Sellers don't
can understand that. Yeah.
So you need to just sort of break it down a bit. bit of advice that I got for somebody else as well is like, just talk to them. You know, if you need to show them like a bit of paper, just saying, look, we can buy this house. We can give you, $100 grand. We can buy it for $100 grand now. But see, if we do an assisted sale, we can actually give you 105,000 for it, and that just makes them take a wee bit more notice, because they're just seeing a higher figure there with the assisted sale. I think that's a good approach, a good technique to use.
I guess my worry would be like, if like you say, it's all about keeping that relationship. It's pure like the core to it, because if it breaks down at all, they're in complete control, like you said, because it's they own the property. So when it comes to actually selling it, to get the offer accepted and to get things moving at the end, then obviously you've got to have 100% cooperation, haven't you? But I guess they're going to be motivated at the end of the day to get the money in anyway. So you would hope that everything goes smoothly.
Right. Well, just go by this one that we've done. It couldn't have actually went any more smooth. Again, you're spot on, Nick. No, they're not going to be like that. And there's probably going to be some, hurdles you need to jump through, even through the full process with some sellers. And some sellers might think, well, wait a minute, I want a slice of that pie, sort of thing. But you just need to, again, the risk reward thing. You need to weigh it up before you're actually going to go ahead with the assisted sale. Can you trust them? Is it going to be too much, stress, hard work, or whatnot? You just need to weigh it up, I suppose, before
or say there was like another family member that came into the picture, that you weren't aware of, some brother or some sister that came, wait a minute, I want a slice of this pie as well. Nobody told me about this, do you know what I mean? Yeah, but anyway, no, it's a phenomenal result, guys. And, hats off to you. And thanks for sharing it with the group. It's just an amazing win for your first deal. So absolutely brilliant. You must be buzzing.
No, we're over the moon. We know that we're probably never going to get a deal like that again. So we've benefited from the market, and we're over the moon, delighted.
And now you're just going to take those profits and go and buy loads of Bitcoin now? Is that?
I was actually like that this morning as well.
No, it's. I wish you all the well to try and get it. Wish you all the best to try and get another deal like that. Anyway, but what I was wanting to ask is, have you guys been doing much on the kind of marketing front and stuff like that? Because obviously you're quite new to it. How you guys going about building your brand and all that?
Aye, so again, we've got Strathclyde property investors and then Strathclyde house buyers. So we went down that route to try and source our off-market deals. Again, helping the sellers find a solution, help sell their house. I know what a lot of people think about that and the comments that we've had on our Facebook ads and stuff, but we don't really care. Do you know what I mean? I know you're laughing, Nick.
You get some nutters on Facebook, don't you? I mean, what kind of comments do you get? I mean, I did a Facebook ad campaign for a while, and it was just like, absolute scumbags that were commenting, like these.
I've started to reply to some of them in the last couple of days, and I'm thinking I should start. I really shouldn't be doing that. Like private messaging and just saying, if you really knew what our business was about, maybe you shouldn't be commenting and stuff. And I'm like, I shouldn't be reacting to it. But there's just been that many comments on your Facebook ads that you're paying, good money for, and just mind your own business, mate.
Help algorithm gets the reach out, then let them keep commenting.
Aye, well I know that's aye.
And with your Facebook marketing stuff, Facebook ads, are you getting much return there, or is that you said that your biggest lessons in property? Yeah. What was the kind of thing you learned out of that?
Aye, so definitely doing the Facebook ads ourselves to start with was one of the lessons so far. It's you just need to get somebody to do that knows what they do, knows how to get into the nitty gritty, the targeting, retargeting, all that stuff. We were just.
So if you paid somebody for that now to get somebody to do that,
we do now. That's what I'm saying. We made the mistake doing it ourselves, but the leads we were getting were just terrible. You were phoning them up and they were saying, "I didn't submit any form. I didn't give you my details."
Rockets.
Aye. So now we've actually started to get some good leads since we actually went live with this agency about 2 weeks ago. I think we've got about 4 or 5 solid leads that, one's looking at hope for a potential deal. The other few are looking quite positive as well. So it's a lot better than what it was the first few months,
I've actually seen your ads pop up. Yeah. I think I might have actually replied to one just to see because I'm always curious to see what other people are doing. So I might have, you might be calling me up to see if I want to sell my property. But
It's how else? I mean, how else do you really find off-market deals in abundance like that? I mean, that's why we felt that it was a good avenue to go down, because relationships are great and stuff, but we need to be looking at getting off-market deals every week or every month. We just felt that it's a good route to go down to try and get them. Again, it's not about going in and just going like that, or 50% BMV that people are messaging me saying. It's not all about that. It's about finding solutions, i.e. wall as well, i.e. green up,
Yeah, 100%. No, I think it's definitely the way forward. I mean, I've seen quite a few people do it, but again, it's just a numbers game. If you're consistent and, you're basically, a lot of them, you will turn up, I think, and people just have expectations where there's just nothing in it for you. And, at the end of the day, that might be something where you can say, right, well, you're talking about solutions here, and you're like, okay, well, it doesn't work for us, but then you could maybe have a deal with an estate agent where you could then put on that lead to the estate agent and take a 50-50 fee or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I think it can definitely work. So yeah,
getting the investors on board as well. Investors looking for buy-to-lets, flips, or whatnot it's crucial as well. That's why we're trying to build an investor sort of client list. And now we're trying to get people on board, for returns, because people look for buy-to-lets, and so that when you're going into these off-market deals, and if it's not really ticking your boxes, you can go back, you can go like that, right? That's ticking his or her boxes. We'll see if we can do something for them with the deal, So it's not always about yourself, of course. That's about just building relationships again with investors, and
it helps you short-term cash flow your business as well.
Yeah.
And I meant to ask you guys right at the start, because I'm still thinking, how do you guys know each other? How did you come to meet each other?
Well, friends from school.
Friends from school, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the trust there. You've
got the trust there. I know a lot of people see you going to work with your friends, but I think we're the what's the word I'm looking for? We're the difference. I think we do trust each other, and we've known each other for years, and we work well together. As much as we might have some disagreements, we bring different qualities to the business, which I think is key for going forward.
100%. I mean, Wallace Well, for example, it's Jon's project management background. I'm no great. We sort of with the refurbs and that as of yet, still learning a lot about that. But Jon just took it all in his stride, and it was done in, as I say, 11 weeks, which is brilliant considering Jon was working down south for all of it. Just managing trades and stuff like that. It was just smooth. It's a smooth process from the start to finish, which ideal for me, because it meant that I can get out and do other stuff, focus on getting investors on board, finding other deals and stuff like that.
Great stuff.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks very much for coming on and sharing your story and sharing the story of your first deal.
Pleasure.
Brilliant. Could you let the listeners know where they can reach out to you and connect with you and follow your journey?
Aye, so LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just our names, I think. David _smart_property. I think Jon JM _Strathclyde property. Something like that.
We'll post your social media links on the show notes, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for joining us, guys. I appreciate it.
Cheers for having us.
Well done, guys. So hope you enjoyed that interview, guys. What a win for these boys. We're delighted to have them as part of the community, and they've been posting videos on the Facebook page about this particular property. So, breaking the ceiling price for Balornick up there in North Glasgow. So, the locals will have them.
A statue for them.
The locals will have them down as heroes up there. And, we're delighted for them and hope that they find another deal like that anyway. So, Stephen, we got another
absolutely. These guys are in my mastermind group, and I'm excited to work with these guys. They're just nice, genuine guys that want to take action, and they've proved that with their first deal over the line already. So, absolutely, hope you guys took a lot from that interview.
Have you got any reviews for us this week?
I do. We have a 5-star review from Emma Nuggin, and she said, "Thanks very much for the review, Emma. I'm so glad I found this podcast. It gives so much information for property investors. I'm still working my way through all the episodes, but what I find particularly refreshing is the honesty. There are stories from real investors that include the real hard work that is involved in property investing, and not just about getting rich from one deal. The presenters are great, and they also share their own stories of ups and downs. Thank you for telling it like it is. The Facebook group is also great. So thank you very much for that 5-star review.
I think you might have butchered their name there, so I think it might be Nugent, but never mind. Anyway, thanks very much, Emma. And I did a call with it.
You put me on the spot. I'm reading this live.
I did a call with Emma a couple of weeks ago, and she was telling me about what she was up to, what she wanted to do. And, she wasn't even on the Facebook group. So I says, look, she was on another Facebook group, Scottish Property Facebook group, which I says, stop wasting your time on that and get over on our one. And I think she's found it really, really good, really valuable. So thanks very much for being part of the community, Emma. And I hope you're enjoying it. As always, if you do have time, please leave a review. And if you want to take a screenshot on your Instagram and tag us in it, we'll certainly share it with our audience as well.
Right. Thanks a lot, guys.